Hi friends, this morning I want to talk about success, how to become successful. Eventually you know me, I'm not gonna go for the word point of view but from a biblical point of view because that's true success. When God is giving Joshua the task to lead the people into the promised lands, he tells him everything that he had to do to become successful. In God's point of view, success is delivering God's purpose, the reason why you were made. So what rich and poor has in common is their ability at the level to be successful. Unfortunately, the world got it twisted because today, even church is voicing a successful man in terms of the amount of wealth he has. And I want to discuss the profile of both people. You have the profile of the rich person. A rich person doesn't stress when his child is sick because he has medical aid. Doesn't think twice when he needs a car, he just buys for it. Naturally, when you become rich, you start leaning onto things and you don't think of God so much because your wealth allows you to deal with situation practically. Unfortunately, without realizing that you're leaning onto an idol. On the other side, the poor person has only God to live for. He trusts God for the bread. He trusts God to have enough fuel in his car to get to work. A poor person will find himself interceding for his
Head
car,
northeast,
knowing
then
that
make
it
a
is
U-turn.
very cheap car
Turn right.
that need to lead him to work, and he says, God, I'm going to this interview, but please make sure that the fuel is enough and there's not enough traffic on the roads. Or the better prayer, make sure he doesn't break down because I know I have to push it myself. Those are the kind of spaces in which the poor person finds himself. As a result, he is growing what they call faith. So a poor person is rich in faith. Therefore, it's become a very interesting contrast between poor and rich because we need something from one another. That is why it is very wrong for a rich person to hang out with rich people. In fact, it is wise for a rich person to hang out with a poor person because he can borrow something from the poor, and that's called faith. What a poor can borrow from a rich is some money. So we will come to ask you for some money. Please give it to us generously because we can sell something that you don't have. That is faith. Because in God's preference in heaven, it is not based on wealth, it is based on how high your faith is. And because of the advantage of being poor, your faith is high and they say that the kingdom of God belongs to you. The story of Naaman lean too much on the prophet and on the miracle, but forget the slave in the middle. The slave was positioned higher than a man from the spiritual point of view because she was rich enough to tell him what to do to be healed. And that is the beauty of being a poor person. So at that very time, he or she has been successful because she has delivered the purpose of why God wanted her to be the slave of that particular master so that the glory of God could go high. So before you become very proud of what you have and look down on other people, understand that this diversity is important. A rich fits with a poor. So when you're thinking about getting married and you're saying to yourself, she's not at my level, be careful. You don't need a wife in your house that doesn't pray for money because you have it, and you have it, and then you find out that you got an issue where faith is required. Take a poor woman with you. She may be poor financially, but she's rich in faith. The day you got a problem as a husband, you'll find out the necessity that a poverty had something more powerful than what you have, it's faith. See, if I pray for my car and I intercede for my car to get to work, I've learned already to become a master in faith. I trust God every step of the way. But you're there in your nice Range Rover, cruising on the N1, and guess what? We found your body on the roads, on a car crash. Most likely because you relied on the speed, you relied on the year model, you relied on the value, because you thought that this was success. Today, God is coming to bring conscience again of those that God is planning to elevate. You want elevation from God. God says, don't forget the poor in the process. May the Lord bless you abundantly.